Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're the hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every day, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can view all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues that affect you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting of the Ag and Rural to order for this is October 15th. Approval of minutes, please. So moved. It's been a motion. How about a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, a like sign. Ayes have it. We'll move on to public appearances for non-agenda items, and I think both of these folks are here for agenda items. Yeah. Okay. So not seeing anyone, let's move on to item 5A, Frostwood Farms, Adams Road subdivision proposal. Is that?
Yeah, so Lisa, do you want to just come on up and explain the project a little bit? And I'm ready to put up the info.
Map. Perfect. Cool. And I push this button?
Yep.
So if you want to grab me, Scott, thanks.
My name is Lisa Steinhauer. There we go. I am with Raymond Management Company and Frostwood Farms, and we are working on a proposal here to split off 15 acres from an existing 2-acre combination, or sorry, 2-parcel combination. My role, our company owns 7 farms in the Fitchburg area. And I work on anything, any type of development projects that we're trying to move forward. So I'm working with Deanna on a project that's in the Greenfield Neighborhood Plan area. I'm working on this project on Adams Road, and then a project which is just cross Verona Road, town of Verona, a neighborhood project over there. So what I'm here for today is, with the interest of the owner, is to release some of the land at this property. The goal is to release 15 acres. And this property is eligible for 2 lot splits and a cluster split. So we would like to use one of those 2 lot splits to break off 15 acres as shown in this blue dashed area. The reasoning behind this dashed area was to try to meet as many of the rural design criteria as we can. We can't meet all, so I guess the reason for our discussion today is to see what is most important, what can we do to potentially move something forward. So I guess we're just here looking for feedback today on whether you find this layout acceptable or what might work for this area.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, staff, please. Deanna.
As Lisa mentioned, we have been working through for several months, actually, a path forward here. So as you note here, there is an 80-acre parcel and right now a 35-acre parcel. Both are zoned AX. And Lisa is correct. There are 2 splits between the 2 lots. between the existing two parcels, and then the larger parcel also has one for rural cluster development. So what they're requesting is to create a 15-acre parcel, use one of those splits. What Lisa and I have been discussing is that we can't leave the remainder of that larger 80-acre parcel as without frontage. Every parcel has to have frontage onto Adams Road. So in order to proceed with something like this, to create that 15-acre parcel, they would have to join the remainder of that larger 80-acre parcel to the 35-acre parcel. So that's an important consideration here. And then what I would like to just do is walk through that rural development criteria, the rural residential development criteria for what we look at when we do those splits, right? When we approve a split. So first one is compatibility with the adjacent farm operations. So what I was suggesting is that, it would be important for the committee to look at making sure wherever the house would be sited and making sure however the lots are located, that existing farm operations can continue. Avoiding environmental sensitive areas. This is where the tree line is. There is a very steep slope in there, and that's part of the reason why there's the tree line in there. There is some pretty steep slopes that we need to be considered. Lot shape needs to be 2-to-1, so that means it has to be 2 times the depth as the width. Woodland cover, if there's woodland covered that might be impacted, the applicant would need to provide a forestry management plan. And then the last one, E, is protecting all heritage trees, and I missed the word trees in the memo. So those are the required criteria that need to be addressed. The additional criteria that may be waived is a history of tillage, so building where there was once tillage or some cropland. We look for residential infill, and what that means that the new house should be located within 300 feet of a residential building. And then lot size, this is something that can be waived, but the preferred is 1.5 acres or less for the lot size. And then erosion potential, just ensuring that we don't impact slopes over 12%. So those are the rural residential criteria that would need to be considered here.
Okay, thank you, Deanna. Anybody, I'll open it up to the committee first. Anybody got any questions?
So this is proposed as a 2-lot CSM. I'm understanding that right?
Yes, there would need to be a 2-lot CSM done. Mm-hmm.
This, what are the sizes of the 2 lots? I thought it was just one that was 15.
Well,
did I misunderstand that?
No, they're requesting the 15-acre lot.
Okay.
But right now, I guess what I should have
So it'd be 65 plus the 35 for 100 acres?
Yep.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, I should come back. But yes, because I can't leave the remainder. Right now, there's 2 lots. It's this lot right here and this lot right here. We can't leave a remainder of a lot without frontage.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Okay, so there's one buildable, there'll be a buildable lot of 15, and then the remainder of the land will be the second CSM. Am I correct?
Yeah, it'd be the second parcel, and it would just remain zoned AX.
Okay. Anybody? Roger?
Is it 2 CSM lots now, or do we have 2 meets and bounds description lots?
No, it's CSM.
CSM.
Mm-hmm.
Roger?
Yeah. What is your intention with 15 acres? Why 15 acres?
The owner of this land, Judy Raymond, she's analyzing all of her properties essentially at this point. as she's getting older and wants to release certain amounts of acreage because of the amount of value that they're worth. She's trying to reevaluate the amounts of value that she owns. So the goal here is 15 acres, and then we're also analyzing the rest of her properties to see what we can do.
So the rural residential criteria, I take it you're trying to liquidate this maybe to a rural resident, is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So what has been your thoughts about making it more than what the real criteria calls for is 1.5 acres?
Our goal is to continue use as both farming or pasture, and so the space that 15 acres would allow for her horse pasture or farming is I guess of more value than 1.5 acres provides. That 1.5 acres doesn't offer that. That's our ultimate goal, is to create a 15-acre parcel that can be used with a residential home, potentially one agriculture building, and then be pasture and farmland.
I have a question about, so there's a 35-acre parcel in like CSM that was done. So are we now going to make this non-conforming if we lop something off that? Because isn't there a 35-acre minimum to have placed this farm? So this is we can't make something non-conforming.
That's right. So what we would have to do with that 15 acres, it'd have to be rezoned to rural residential.
But then we lose 35. We lose that 15 or whatever amount that is from the 35 based on the line, right?
The 15's coming off the 80 acre.
It's coming off the 80, not the 35?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
we would join the remainder of the 80 to the 35.
Yeah.
So we'll have the
Okay.
minimum acreage for AX.
Okay.
But you are correct. The 15 acre would have to be rezoned to rural residential. And I guess that's a question that I have too, maybe Lisa. Would the current property owner maintain some easements to farm it, or how would you ensure that some of that farmland could still be farmed?
Yeah, I don't know what legal processes we can take. I mean, we'd be open to easements if that's an appropriate process. I don't know what is acceptable, like a blanket easement that states the use of the land needs to include farming, something like that we'd be open to, pasture, farming use. If you don't mind, I wanted to explain the reason we proposed the blue boundary as is to try to meet that 2-to-1 ratio of length versus width. But when we do look at the property, if you see there's a field directly off Adams Road, sorry, I can't point directly on the screen, but if the eastern boundary of the blue rectangle moved slightly to the right where that tree line is, thank you, whoever is moving the mouse, moved slightly right, that would help prevent cut up that current open space, and that we could bring the northern blue line down a bit to stay close to that 15 acres, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that clearly.
So you would think you would do something more like
I wanted to
this.
bring that up for discussion. If we could do that, that seems to be a better use, because then you don't chop up that front agriculture area. I realize that doesn't meet the 2-to-1 criteria as well, but wanted to open that for discussion in case it seems like overall it might make more sense, because it also opens up the backfield with better access for the second parcel.
I'm just not understanding the 15 acres at all when it takes 35 to build a home.
You get a split.
They use a split, and under if they rezone it, it can be less than 35.
You have to buy a split someplace.
Okay.
Well, they have to.
They have the
Okay.
splits.
Yeah, they've got one.
They got the splits.
I also wonder, I mean, I hear the concern about 15 acres having more value, but the requirement is a minimum of 1.5, right? Or that's the suggested target range?
Suggested minimum.
Well, let's be clear. It's a criteria that may be waived, and it specifically says that lot should be 1.5 acres or less.
Or less.
But that's a criteria that may be waived by you all, Plan Commission and Council.
And then it has to be a minimum of an acre for a septic system
Yeah.
in the city. So that's why we kind of went with the 1.5.
Is the 2-to-1 waivable? I would also agree that the tree line would be a much better location for a parcel line than the middle of the field. My farm has partial ownership by the neighbor in the middle of my ag field, and it's caused some.
No, I agree.
I mean, he's got all the rocks, so it's okay, but it's kind of in the middle. It looks a lot like that, where it's, ownership extends into the agricultural land. The existing use at the time of the CSM does not follow agricultural use or field edges. So I do like the tree line. I do understand, though, that trees can grow where it's not being leased or used for ag purposes, but it also seems to sort of block access. When you look at that existing tree line, I assume there's some sort of drainage issue between the blue line and the 80.4 label. There's that tree line south of that, and if you put a parcel line there,
It's flat.
it is flat?
Yeah, I was up there yesterday and looked at it. The tree line, as we know, has got a real slope in it. I mean, for developing that, I don't think you're going to want to do anything with it. You're going to have a potential erosion problem if you clear cut it. Up there on the 80 acres where this line is extended, it's relative. It does not have a slope to it. It's farmed right now. It's very good. You have an existing roadway along the west border of this. So you might want to, when you want to consider about the landlocked idea, this is the road, this is what they've been using to get back there now. And you might want to consider, if you're going to go through with this, any part of that, to make that an easement to that. I think I know it's open to discussion, but I think that's going to solve your landlocked problem.
I believe that, and Deanna, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the home would not be allowed to add their own driveway then, because each parcel, there's one parcel to the existing barn, or one driveway to the existing barn, and then the driveway that you're describing on the western edge. So that driveway, or a driveway within that area, would become the residential driveway, and then there would be the one to the barn, but now it's all one parcel, so that serves that whole parcel. I don't think we can add a third driveway, is what I'm trying to say.
Per the CSM, they cannot add a third driveway.
So how are you going to unlock this 80 acres up here? How are you going to access it?
When the remainder of the 80 acres and the existing 35 acres are combined as one, they would all be accessed through the driveway at the barn.
Okay. Okay, you're going to come in from the east. Yeah, yeah.
Is there an existing path or
There is.
Okay.
from the shop buildings
Yes.
straight north?
Yeah.
So the landlock would be solved by doing what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The two, by combining, that would solve that.
So, I didn't hear, Deanna, did you answer, is the 2-to-1 waivable?
Technically not. It's a required criteria in the comp plan. What I can do is check with the city attorney and see what she thinks. If it's kind of a weird place because it's in the comp plan for me. It's not in code. Does that make sense, Shelley?
Yeah.
And I can check with her and see if we could write a resolution that would allow that also to be waived. I'm not aware that we've done that. I don't know if Roger.
No, we never have.
Is there any like ill regard or prevention from just selling this as farmland?
Do you mean splitting the parcel and then selling it as farmland, or selling the whole thing?
Or I would say splitting it off from the existing home or the existing buildings that are there, and then selling the remainder as farmland, if that's what she's looking to do, is sell. I mean, just because I can speak for myself, I'm just really interested in preserving farmland in Fitchburg, so that would be my suggestion, or in my mind, that's the best case scenario or solution, is selling, if you're looking to sell it as farmland.
Yeah, the intent is of locating the house in the woods is so that the farmland areas can be preserved, but also break it off as it's more valuable when a home can be built on it, and we have the lot split available to do so. So that's the intent. We would like to preserve the farmland as well, and that's why locating the house there would keep it off of those areas, but make it usable. So I understand your goals with that. Ideally, though, we would like it to be developable for residential.
I'm looking at it just with my naked eye here. And, I don't know if, Deanna, you have any measure tools available or have done this, but if you brought that where the northerly line of the southerly lot is, if you just use the tree line as the rear lot line, what is 50% of that coming from the southwest corner? How wide of a lot do you get? That looks to me like it's about 375 feet.
So like what this line is?
Yeah, that line of the CSM.
Oops.
And just straight south until you hit the right-of-way. 2 to 1, 745 feet. So you could have a 300-foot wide lot. I mean, coming off of the west line, 300 feet gets you.
This line doesn't have to stay.
No, I assume it wouldn't. So if you cut a 300-foot east and west or 320 by 700 feet deep, you'd maintain your 2 to 1. You wouldn't encroach into the northerly ag field. Right. But I mean, is 300 feet too narrow? That reduces your lot size down from 15 to 7.5 in terms of acreage. Preserves the ag usage.
At least it preserves this area.
Yeah, and still maintains your 2 to 1. I understand the target was 15 acres, but it's grossly different from the 1.5.
Have you considered placing your house in a different location or making a real residential 1.5 acre lot over along the tree line that's between the barn and this field, and then leaving that field open? I mean, what I'm saying is, if you went back to the rural residential criteria, which would eliminate some of these variances that we're talking about, and put your lot in off of Adams, over against that where the curve is.
So farther east than...
Farther east, come off of Adam there with your acre and a half as a real residential lot. The rest of that area, which is south of the tree line, would remain ag, and of course up above on the 80 acres up there would remain ag too. But just go to a regular rural residential lot.
If we were to do something like that, could we still do a lot split and keep that portion? You say we split off another 10 acres and it stays as just ag, but we also have a 1.5 acre residential lot. Is that acceptable?
I have a question on that. Doesn't that avoid the infill distance of where the house location would be?
Well, we'll never make, I don't think we'll make the 300 feet any place in this proposal at all. Because this barn up here is too far away. But that's something that I would go to waive versus all of this other that we're talking about is waiving, that 2 to 1 ratio.
So I think you bring up
We
an
can make that
interesting,
work.
you know, if you created the 1.5 acre lot, and then you're saying, what if you had a secondary rural
Like a second
lot?
parcel that's farmed or,
Yeah, that remains, that would have to be rezoned to small lot egg.
Right, and which then that lot would be unbuildable.
It would be unbuildable as a
But-
house.
and it would be zoned
but it
egg
would
small.
Be, yeah, it'd have to be zoned egg
And
small.
what's the minimum criteria on egg small? I think it's.
3 acres, I believe.
I think it's
I think
3
it is,
acres
yeah.
too, but I don't want to,
No, I'm pretty sure it is.
I think it's 3 acres.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so that would work.
and does that have criteria, the 2 to 1 ratio and criteria like that needs to be met as well?
No.
No, just the
Does not.
residential lot that we
Just the
parcel off.
residential lot. And then if, being that was egg small, what is the criteria, or is there any restriction for animals?
Okay, yeah, 3 acres, you're right. And
I don't recall.
it's agricultural uses,
Yep.
and you'll have to follow under
So you could have like 10
animal units per acre,
10 animals then.
depending on the size.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which
but
would-
there's
would-
different like little things. If there's goats, I think you get some more.
You get a
something
few
like
more
that.
goats.
Yeah,
They're smaller.
more goats.
And then on the adjacent parcel that would be split off, is that able to be used as pasture for animals or just farmland?
No.
No, I think it
pasture
Both
is
are
farmland.
considered
Yeah,
farmland?
pasture.
Pasture is farmland.
And taxed at the lowest rate.
Which is an important consideration.
Yeah, so I was just throwing that out there.
So you could sell it as one unit, but it would be 2 parcels.
And what would that do to the lot split scenario?
You would still use the one lot.
You're going to use one of your splits, yes.
So splitting land in a CSM process of creating a smaller ag lot, that doesn't use a lot split. A lot split is only used if it's residential?
Residential.
Yeah, building.
Okay.
Correct.
So you would not have, you have 2 splits now, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you would maintain 1.
Small lot ag is not buildable.
Correct.
No.
Are we going to run into another scenario where we have 50% of the income coming from the property and getting a building right?
Not on this
Not
one.
under egg small.
No.
I'm not sure I'm completely following the layout you described, but
The location.
I didn't either. But go ahead.
Yeah, what I was suggesting is where the curve is up there, just west, the buildings, and then you got there right in that curve area, parcel out 1.5 acres.
You could just parcel out 1.5 acres and then have the remainder
Yep.
as the small lot egg.
Yeah.
And that would.
Everything would take place in that. You wouldn't go beyond on this. You're not going to go beyond the tree line. The tree line becomes the south border of this what we're thinking of here.
So you're saying create 2 parcels, one of them a rural residential at 1.5 acres, and then sell the 10 acre or whatever small lot ag with it as unbuildable. So somebody would be buying
Right.
2 lots.
Yeah, a house and a pasture.
Yeah.
so it would be
Is there any
significantly
tax
less than the
advantages?
15 acres, or could we make the ag parcel go beyond the tree line?
Well, I
No,
think
I
what
don't
we were
think you wanna
trying
do
to
that.
do is keep the integrity of this farm field.
Can you
Yeah.
draw that for representation on there?
Perhaps.
And there's nothing,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but there's nothing that if one person buys both of those parcels that doesn't have some sort of merger effect where then the parcel that they own has two different zoning classifications?
It would have two different.
Yeah.
They would be two separate,
right.
totally separate.
Two different taxes.
Since they're separate parcels, legal standing, freestanding entities, regardless of ownership, they can still have different zoning.
Yep.
Okay.
And that 10-acre
That's pretty
small
common.
lot could be sold to Adam, and they could keep their home. It's not like they're combined for life or anything.
Could the residential lot be configured kind of longer and skinnier than that to tuck the home back into the tree line and really keep the existing front field usable as much as possible?
That's what I was kind of looking at. So one of the criteria is that you have to be within 300 feet of an existing building, and that's waivable. But
Yeah.
rather than having
That's a
your
pretty big stretch.
well, there's no residence here. That's just stables, right?
Like
So
barn.
what if you moved your red 1.5 acre parcel into the woods? Is there room for that, or is there something there?
You're just going to have to be careful in that siting because we will, at least I will, be very strict about having the forestry management plan
Yeah.
and protecting heritage trees. So how that house gets sited in the woods is going to have to be of some consideration. But, do we have
There you go. That's perfect.
a little bit bigger lot?
I didn't go in the back, I drove in front.
I think ideally we need to figure out how to stay with that 1.5 maximum number for rural residential lots.
I don't, if they want it to be in the tree line, I think it's going to be difficult.
What was that?
I think it might be difficult
Difficult?
if you want it to be
make
in the
that-
tree line.
Okay.
Is, unless you were willing to, come a little bit like this. But this is going to be more than 1.5 acres too.
Oh.
That's more than 1.5 acres for sure. But you could maybe try to site in this kind of area, Lisa.
And
And
this-
then come with a larger lot to take this for your small lot egg.
Like small.
What about you can't add a third driveway, so how do you get access to the new rural residential 1.5 acre lot?
They are going to have to they're going to have to do access to these lots off of either here or they could move it, and then this one's going to have access through here.
So the remainder of the 80 and the 35 would still combine,
Yeah.
but
They
when
will.
you use a lot split, as you have drawn here, the red lot split cuts into the 35 acres. So since it overlaps both, I thought that caused issues for does that get charged as two lot splits? It's still one lot split.
No,
okay
the
with
CSM would remove that
I'm
lot
okay
line.
with it.
Okay.
No, you're okay.
Is
The
there-
new CSM will vacate
It will,
any
yes.
any
It'll be-
interior boundary lines.
Okay.
Far over the
You're
35.
going to pull it off of the 80.
Going to be at 1.
Isn't 35 acres a criterion for something?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so now-
AX.
Now they've, you're combining.
It would
Combine.
combine.
Yeah, we're going
Yeah.
to take the remainder of the 80.
What you have drawn might work, but is there also an option to do a very long skinny lot, kind of where the house already is shown, and then have everything to the right be a separate ag lot?
Everything to the right.
Well-
you would want that.
Up to
over.
the tree line?
the left?
We can't really do long skinny lots because of our 2-to-1. So you would have to.
It can't exceed 2-to-1, or it can't
It's supposed
be
to be roughly
less.
2-to-1, but that's not even
Period.
2-to-1.
Oh, okay.
But maybe that's not.
I just think ideally for someone to build a home, to give them some space from those barns would be ideal. I see that where you're going with the first proposal, but it would be nice
But
to be able to space it.
Maybe this is just your solution to keep it a little bit smaller. Then the remainder is all one lot.
Oh.
Yep.
But then that's an exception that or a waiver or something.
Yeah, definitely in terms of lot size, definitely. But if you can get kind of the 2 to 1, I'm probably kind of close here.
Back to my cutting it, whatever, that 745 and 320 then.
Yeah.
So-
Yep.
Close to that.
Yep. That's kind of what you'd be doing.
And so in that scenario, there's so many scenarios to consider. So, there's one that would be one residential lot split. It's just less than 15 acres, and the rest becomes one. Is there an option for the owner to look at this and say, hey, I want to still parcel off X acres and keep them ag use only and split them and sell them to either whoever owns this home or someone else? Does that make sense?
You can split your agriculture land, but you would have one more option to build a home in this.
But if
Right.
it's own egg small, you're small.
But she's got 2 splits, so
Yeah.
if she puts one home, she can put one more.
Right.
Why don't you
I
do
guess
that?
technically
Why
you
don't
can. What you're asking.
So you could do one lot split that builds a home and potentially at some point say, hey, I want to split off another 10 acres, but it's only ag use, there's no home. You can split what the remainder would be, say 100 acres. My math isn't as fast as yours.
I guess the only thing I think what we should aim for, Lisa, is to try to maintain the integrity of this farm field as much
This
as
back
we can.
area.
What if you did 2 lots? What if you used your 2 splits here and made
In this 15 acre.
2 7.5 acre parcels that reach that wood line? Yeah. Now you've got 2 saleable small lot or rural residential lots, probably increasing the saleability or sale value. Or
I
at
guess
least
we'll have to see if we're willing to give them a 3rd driveway.
Oh, that would be,
dang.
yeah. And our initial
How about a
review of
shared
this with the
driveway?
owner, she wanted to preserve one lot split for future decision making. So
Okay.
I can't speak for her if she would change her mind now, but that was her initial. She would like to use just one lot split at this point.
A shared driveway, which throughout Dane County is the choice. You're seeing in a lot, actually I'm seeing it in Greene County too. So that's another option for you to look at. If you had 2 lots, you could use one driveway.
remove the driveway on the west field edge and then put it in the middle of the 2 parcels or wherever you want it in
Then
the
you
2
have to just
parcels.
have
You just need an
easement
easement
into each
an ingress egress access easement.
I hope we haven't totally confused you.
No, and I have talked this through every which direction with Deanna, so don't worry. We're just continuing what I started several months ago.
We're still, my 2 cents is it would be good if we could maintain the integrity of the farm field to the north and
Yeah,
Oh, definitely.
I agree.
Definitely.
I agree.
If we were to do similar to what Deanna has drawn in the red, but I guess I initially described this, bring the blue line down a bit just to create it, to preserve the integrity a bit more, but try to target that 15 acres. Oh, I guess we don't have the 2 to 1 still then, and it sounds like that's a priority.
I don't know that we can waive that.
Okay. Okay, so what we have shown in red sounds like it might be an ideal scenario. It's just not meeting the 15 acres.
Well, ideal would be a 1.5 acre rural residential lot, and then the remainder of that space be ag small. That would be ideal. Well, that's me speaking though, just for me.
It's hard to get the house back in that location where you want it and be the acre and a half
Right.
without creating flag lots, so that's
Yeah.
not going to work.
What is a heritage tree?
Oh. Like
There's
an oak.
Oh,
That's it?
there's a
It's an
definition
oak?
for that.
Yeah, like,
There is a definition for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
yeah, like not a honeysuckle.
Oak is
Yes.
one of them.
Trees that, because of their age, size, type, historical association, or horticultural value, are of special importance to the city. Each candidate tree is assessed by a certified arborist and evaluated by a review committee. We have one of those.
Oh, we had that done.
Yes. Upon recommendation of the Parks and Recs and Forestry Commission, the City Council may designate a tree as heritage tree, provided that the tree's health and aerial space and open ground area for the root system has been certified as sufficient. I am not aware of any heritage trees.
Okay, we're not talking every oak or every walnut. We're talking like a
We're talking.
36
Hey, no, it
inch.
did say pines. It
Yeah,
did say
okay,
pines,
okay.
though.
That's what you're talking. You're talking
Okay,
about.
that makes sense. That's what I
I think
estimated.
you'd have to be
2.5, 3
referred
foot
to the
diameter or
tree
more.
committee.
Advisory committee.
Yeah.
Comes
Because
and
at one
ties a
time, they
string
did
around
they did circle a lot of the heritage trees. I know they did out on our land.
There
And
was
it's
a- there was a map.
Even the ones that got struck 2 or 3 times by lightning,
They tied
But
various
it's-
colored strings around mine.
they'd examine the age and
That's why I'm looking out into people's ag fields and seeing that one oak tree that it's like, what is that
You
there?
gotta have that.
It's-
Beauty.
I understand that. But it's.
well, you know,
Yes.
excuse me, and you know, another thing on this shared driveway, that may be done throughout Dane County a lot, but it's not really favorable, I don't think, as far as,
I agree. I wouldn't.
you know.
I don't know that it
I guess what I'm
devalues,
saying is
but-
I don't know if I'd lay it all out that way, expecting it to be marketable and value, increase value. It might take away some of the value.
I doubt that, but if,
You know, it's all right if
we
you got
haven't done
son
much
and
of it.
daughter and relatives, but sometimes
That's true.
a lot of people move out in a rural area because they want to just be away from,
But
Yeah.
if it's
farther
done,
away from their neighbors.
if it's done before the sale, so you know going in and buying it,
Yeah.
when you're buying it, you're buying into that.
yeah,
And if you don't want that, then you don't buy into it.
yeah.
I would agree. I don't know that it's I don't know that it subtracts any value from the property, but it is a thing that a buyer would look at and say, that's less than ideal for me. I mean,
Yeah, it would be their
two
choice.
people buy 2 properties and they have a shared access agreement and maybe hopefully a maintenance agreement to that, and one of them doesn't follow that, it just makes a bad neighbor.
It can. You're correct.
Well, let's review what we've talked about here.
Sure.
First of all, with what you've got up there right now, and what I see, and correct me if I'm wrong, the line that you're drawing right there, you would, my understanding, you would use the house that is on the drawing right now, and that block would be in that southwest corner of that piece of property that we're talking, where it is at. So you'd have a long driveway up to that house that'll follow that fence line, that fence row.
Yes.
Okay. That fits part of rural criteria to where we want to place driveways along fence rows. Okay, that's one scenario. Now the ratio, we can make that ratio work, if I understand correctly, a 2-to-1 with that, and the people are going to be able to build where they want in the woods. I have a feeling that you're wanting to use a woodland lot as a valuable selling tool. Okay.
I think it preserves that front area as being more usable as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, and so you would parcel off the house up there under rural residential criteria, and the rest would be small.
Can does the whole 100 or so acres remainder, does that go small ag or stay AX?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, that's
So
ag.
the rest, if we say the rural residential, I don't know how many acres that would be, but what you just described, what becomes rural residential, and then you're describing a second area that would be small ag to get closer to that 15 acres. Is that?
Well, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
to fill in, you're going to where you have cropland right now. You would the front part of it would be that way, between the house and the road, if I'm correct. Okay, that's one. The other one is over to the east, using the tree line to the east of that tillable cropland, with a house. Probably would be ideal. You'll have no problem with rural criteria if you put it someplace in that area, but we would have to waive the I don't believe you're going to be 300 feet. You might be close, depending on where you put the house in that woodland part of that eastern part. But you could put a real residential criteria there, and it would fall in real well.
Where would you do that? In here, you think?
Yeah, well, in there, right where your marker is, right along that line.
So you would do
right
the acre and a half,
someplace like that, or
and then she could take the remainder in here as egg small.
Correct. Now,
go ahead.
Now you'd have a pretty favorable small ag lot to retail or to sell.
Doesn't it have to be?
I thought it had
Doesn't the home have to be like so many distance from the roadway for the fire departments? So we can't really put this thing way back in those trees.
If you go to the first scenario we talked to, the fire department's definitely going to have to look at that lane, and you're going to have a bump out on it.
Yes, you are going to have to have.
You'll have to have a bump out.
Yeah, the first scenario in my mind is ideal. I just think that's a better location for the house. And I'm looking at the one just to the west of it that's like double as far back. So they must have fire department approval for that one that's way back. The neighbor.
Be careful because it was done before.
Okay.
Before.
That's
so
grandfathered in.
Right now, they're going to. We know this already with the Gormans, and they had to spend a lot of extra dollars to do that driveway.
Astronomical.
But they knew that going in.
Adam's house?
Yeah.
They knew that going in.
Can only imagine.
And it had to be paved, or at least some sort of. And I think the width was a big problem.
Yeah, this is going to be 14 feet.
Yeah.
So
But it does not have to be paved.
Is your red box, is that 2-to-1? Did you draw that to be 2-to-1?
I eyeballed it, yes.
Okay.
It would have to be.
It looks close.
It's just
Right. But I'm just.
it's not right now.
I think some of us are assuming that a 1.5 lot and then a whatever amount, 10-acre lot or something, that will be as saleable as one 15-acre lot. And I wonder if we might be getting ahead of what her client's interest is going to be.
I mean, what I have drawn in the blue is the ideal, I think, from the owner's perspective. But again, here looking for your feedback of what is acceptable.
From a tax standpoint, if someone has a rural residential lot that's 15 acres, they're going to pay 4 times in taxes that they're going to pay for a 1.5-acre rural residential and have an egg small lot attached to it. So if your buyer is, I don't know how to say this.
I'm very affluent.
Now I can't remember the name, Chris Leitz, is that the tax? I had a conversation with them about that, and they explained that it would be taxed based on how the land is used. So say 1.5 acres is used as residential of it, and the rest is pasture or woodland or farmland. Those would be categorized under those tax categories.
But if you're rezoning this 15-acre piece into rural residential,
I think it's still
you're
less
taxed
than
as rural residential.
Are you saying, I'm sorry, did you just say if it were the 15 acres?
Yes.
The city would look at it as 1.5 for a house and
As they explained it to me, they would look at, say, 1.5 or 2 acres. The driveway plus the house area is taxed at rural residential. The woodlands would be taxed at woodlands. Pasture would be taxed as pasture based on the land use, not the zoning.
I believe you're right.
It's called land use tax. Taxation.
But it needs to be zoned according
needs to be
to
zoned.
zone.
Yeah.
Because
Why would
I
they?
agree it would need to be zoned, but when I had this conversation with them, and they explained that the zoning wouldn't affect the rate that it's taxed at.
I believe you're correct. I'm not a tax person. I don't know, but
I can confirm this because, yes, that would be a very important piece of information
Yeah.
to buy.
Because if I'm paying taxes on a 15-acre rural residential place, I'm going to go buy 100 acres and build exactly what I want as a buyer.
Not if you just want to be a small farmer, right?
Yeah.
But
More like a, I forgot what they're called, never mind. But, yeah.
Well, I think we need to give some clear message here. We probably need to stick with the 2 to 1. In general, are you all comfortable with the 15 acres going all the way to the back, or?
Definitely.
To the woods, not into the ag
We
field.
want that taken out.
Okay, so I think I can
tree line
speak
is-
for the
is-
committee, Lisa, that
Going to the 80.
keeping the integrity of the farm field on the 80 acres is going to be important
Sure.
here. And I think we've heard from Amy that 1.5 acres is always preferable if we can get there.
Well, some lots we've done have been a little more than an acre and a half.
Yeah,
So
no, we've certainly done them.
if you look at that and you find that by making it 2 acres, you could get a more
To what?
buildable site, I think we would at least consider that.
Yeah, if we can set it up long and, I mean, I think it would be even skinnier than what you've shown, Deanna, in the red. If we can keep the driveway as far west to make that front farmland usable and get the house back there, make that piece residential, and then have a second ag lot not going north of the woodlands, that would be a possible
So
option.
1.5 acres then?
I think so.
Yeah, I think there's, when you mentioned
Probably.
when you mentioned the taxation on this, some of the woodland is probably going to be taxed under forest land. If you get too much of the woodland in there, because we found that out, our taxes were changed when it used to be all use value and it was all taxed as ag. But when you get too many trees there and too much forest products, it's
Yeah, I felt
because
that.
we question it, and it's a state tax on forest land.
Right, it's
that
recreational.
you just got to be aware of.
Yeah, that's when I did the research, I found that as well. The woodlands are a more expensive tax area.
Than the use value.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even though I believe that trees are a crop. Just a little talk.
Should be.
Yeah. State law doesn't agree with you yet.
Right.
I've got to help me clarify on something. Why do you want to change the parcel's definition of that tillable land that we're talking about? Not in the 80 acres, but this 15-acre area. Why are you wanting to change that classification from ag exclusive?
I'm not sure I'm following you. The front piece, front field?
Yeah. I mean,
We don't need to change. My understanding was it has to be changed.
Yeah, it does.
It
Right.
does.
Because it's
You're not less than 35.
Yes,
okay.
so that's
Yeah,
how you
I'm
get
sorry.
AX.
I'm sorry.
Then you fall into an ag small.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got
Yeah.
it now. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, I think you ought to consider this drawing up there that you've got there with the house in that smaller square
To the right.
to the right, because that's going to be either that or move it up a little ways, just so you can get access that the fire department will accept and all that. And then put your house up in there, put your septic system in there, and then just take the other, make it clean, just take the rest and go small ag.
If we were to have a conversation with the fire department ahead of completing any steps here, and they were to approve putting it on the western side further back, would that be acceptable? Just to give that separation from the barns, those are active. It doesn't really give that rural feel to the lot.
I think that this body's input is probably going to need to happen before the fire department is contacted.
Yeah, you'd be smart to visit with them.
Okay.
If that's what you want, because that will be an issue.
Okay.
And it's not to say that it can't be done, because we do have some with bump outs in it.
Yeah.
But it would be,
Well, if you, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you put the house in the back northwestern corner like you draw in there, then but the only thing you can do is that can't be, then the whole thing would have to be rural residential. And the whole parcel would have to be rural residential.
Okay.
I want to add another food for thought type of comment. If you put a house back 750 feet off of the road, the cost to extend natural gas, electric, telecommunications, that distance is probably going to be in excess of
30,000.
50K.
Yeah.
Whereas up by the road, you probably fall into the free distance. So the buyer is going to have to, whoever builds there is going to have a $50,000 expense where they wouldn't down by the road, in addition to the fire department, as well as this isn't going to be ag forever. It will have city sewer water out there one day, and there's going to be someday, hopefully not soon, but
Hopefully not in our lifetime.
it'll be a while, but there'll be the cost to connect. There's no water out here.
No.
Okay.
No, it's all private.
I agree with you. The ultimate wish of the owner was to have it back there, so I'd like to have that as an option if I could.
Is she planning to have like a family member live there or something?
I don't know her ultimate goal, but it's just that the existing farm, or not the farm, the barn area is quite active. So someone looking to live out in this rural area and then put their home right next to something like that, it doesn't give the same rural character.
I would think that is rural character, having an active barn. I mean, that is like country farm life.
Yeah, but it's run
living.
as a business, so there's people coming in and out. It's not like where you go out and can watch horses out in a field. It's just not quite the same.
You can drive by my place for free. It's no problem. But that's like real farming to me.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that you're going to achieve anything different in 15 acres. I mean, the description there was like the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch and not seeing anything, but you're on a 15-acre parcel. You're gonna see that stable, and it's commercial use, even from the woods. I think
You might want to, based on what you're saying, the activity of the barn and everything like that, you might want to look into, and I think we could put an extended driveway. You see the curve? Move that box a little bit further to the north, up there, so you're a little ways away from that barn, or even out into the field a little ways, to meet what you're talking about, as far as
Tuck it back farther, but into that curve.
Yeah, and because your the drive will be along that tree line, which would be okay. That'll meet criteria. But something like that. Put the house back up in the corner there, someplace like up in there.
Oh, that 1.5 acre.
Now you're getting away from that traffic issue that you're talking about, and I certainly don't think that I would think your value would meet a good part of what you're asking for.
And so to make the front field usable, that would be a separate parcel that's an ag small. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, you could,
Because it's less than 35 now.
you could parcel out something.
Why not just take an 1.5 acre parcel up there where they've got that house drawn right
Yeah,
now and a driveway to it?
No, we can't create a parcel.
That would be a flag lot.
that'd be a
You
flag
can't do
lot.
the flag lot and,
Okay, so
you can't have a
I think that
parcel
would be
stuck
very
out there.
sellable to have an 1.5 acre rural residential homestead, and then the buyer could also purchase like 10 acres of AX, and they could either crop farm it or put some beef cattle there. Well, 10. Some horses.
Because of the size of it, it would have to be ag small.
Egg small. So
Yeah.
you can have like 10 animals then. So you could have like 10 horses.
Sure.
Then would you be able to put a little barn up on that egg small?
Yeah. you can
Okay,
do
so
that.
this person could really run with whoever the buyer could really have a very nice place.
Yep.
And then have their home, which in my world, I would not want my residents in the agricultural realm to be larger than 1.5 acres. I wanted to be very conforming to that because I wanted to preserve as much as I could as farmland, and then it just makes sense.
Deanna, would there be any kind of a restriction placed on the lots that they must be sold or owned together, or could two individual, different, separate entities own these lots?
Totally, right?
Long as
I
there was
mean,
access.
the property owner certainly could put a deed restriction that they need to be put together. I don't see that we have a legal reason that we need to do that.
No,
As long as they can access that AX lot
right, they have to be able to.
somehow.
I think our goal is to preserve as much of the agricultural fields as we can.
Yep. Especially out that far.
Yeah.
So.
Has that helped at all?
I think that's the next best alternative. I still think, I'm coming here representing the owner's wishes, and she wanted to be able to put the house at the back. So that would be my number one goal, but this is an alternative that may work.
Probably more realistic, I guess, within, like, fitting in our limit.
Yeah. And if you have to, if 1.5 acres is ideal, but if it's 2 acres,
Yeah, this is probably
there's
a bit more
some,
than 2
there's
acres.
some wiggle room on the
Is her
acres,
plan-
as long as it doesn't go way out of whack.
In this scenario, the remainder lots join together because they need one driveway, and this uses one lot split, correct? I'm just confirming
Yes,
that.
it does.
Yeah.
Is the plan for Judy to build the house and then sell it as a developed lot, or to sell a lot with a building site?
Buildable lot.
Okay. I don't know that she's made up her mind on that yet. I don't know.
That might be ideal. Someone can build exactly what they want.
When you get to that point, you probably will have a sale that's contingent on septic.
Yes.
So that may be a factor you'll have to look at also.
Like the perkability. Okay.
Is there any history of that or knowledge of that as to, did this not perk where the stables are, or has that ever been tested?
There was a home that it was demolished a couple years ago, and I don't know how that home functioned. But there was an older home that was demolished within the past 5 years, so it was operational.
There's water and septic on the barn.
At the barns, yes.
Okay. Oh, yeah, of course.
Can I just ask for my own education, why is it preferable to the committee to have a 1.5 acre lot and then a small egg versus one larger parcel in which there'll be a home and then still some ag use?
You have to have a 35 acre minimum.
I think that's a good question, and maybe I can give you my kind of take on it. So, in the longer term, we're definitely preserving the remainder in agricultural zoning. So we're preserving the agriculture by zoning, right? The city has a say over that, right? It's preserved as zoning. The other piece that I will bring up too, because I'm the city planner and I always am thinking about long term. As Adam mentioned, it's very possible someday, I won't be here, that this could be brought into the urban service area, right? And small 1.5 acre lots sitting up at the front is going to be a lot easier for future development than having these big estate lots, right? If you can think about having a new urban development coming out farther and having 10 big 15, 20 acre estate lots, it's really hard to develop any sort of urban development at that point. So long term, from a planning side, having the smaller lots with residential can be more easily incorporated into future urban development.
Has that helped at all?
That has.
We have a lot of scenarios here, so.
Yes, there's just so many scenarios that
Yeah, we can
it's
work
very
through.
complicated, but yes, I appreciate your feedback.
Yeah, committee got any other comments? Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
We got to talk about the comp plan next.
Yes.
We'll move
Whenever
on
you're
to
ready.
the comp plan planning. Yeah. It would be item 5B, which is the ordinance 2024-028 Plan Commission Resolution PCR 0924 adopting and recommending the fall 2024 amendment to the comprehensive plan, amending map 4.3, future land use map for property located off Borchard Road, significantly from AG and OS to RR. And that has come before us.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, that had come before us a couple of months ago.
Right.
So, Deanna.
Yep. Okay. I can kind of walk through the high points of the memo on this one. So the minor comp plan amendments, we do these twice a year. We do 2 cycles twice a year for a request for minor comp plan amendments. They generally don't come to ag and rural because it's always in the urban service area. But this one is one that's applicable to ag and rural, so that's why we're here. And what I'll be looking for today is, if the committee so chooses, we would just be looking for a recommend either for or against approval to Plan Commission. So with the minor comp plan amendments, it's a rather longer couple of steps. The first step generally is to go to Plan Commission. Plan Commission votes on the Plan Commission resolution, in this case PCR 0924. And then Plan Commission would also make a recommendation of either for or against the ordinance to council. And so because this is in the agricultural area of the city, we're coming before you for a recommendation to Plan Commission to see how this committee feels about this change.
Okay, thank you, Deanna.
Do you want me to talk anymore?
Sure. No, if you're, go ahead.
Okay.
I thought you were done.
No, this lot, of course, it's on the far southwest side of the city. Right now, Ed Cody owns the lot right to the north, and then he also owns this lot. He has a house on this lot, and the lot in question does not have any structures on it. It's just wooded right now. It's my understanding that the lot was created by Meets and Bounds in 1962 by a land sale from the Hagemans to, Wagner, I think, some Wagner brothers. And so right now the future land use is agriculture and open space. And Ed Cody, the property owner, would like to change it to rural residential. And that would allow him to sell the lot as a residential lot. Of course, you would have to go through a rezone too. We would rezone it to rural residential. So that's kind of in a nutshell. He wants to sell the lot for someone to build a single-family house.
Oh, okay, Deanna, thank you. And this was before us. They came in for informational only, maybe 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So at that time, we sent them away without having any issues. So what's the pleasure of the committee?
I'm still in favor of that happening, allowing it to be rezoned.
We could do that as a motion.
I'll make a motion. that
I'll
we,
second.
I think all you would need to do is just make a motion in support of Plan Commission Resolution PCR 0924.
I make a motion to pass on to the Planning Commission Resolution PCR 0924 for approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, a like sign. The ayes have it. We can send that to the Plan Commission. Thank you.
Would it be appropriate to require that to be CSM'd rather than the meets and bounds, or are you okay with that staying? I mean, you don't have to change the boundary at all, but to have it formally identified rather than
I think that has to be done.
It probably certainly makes good sense. And with the rezone, we can say that we would like it to come through as a CSM.
Yeah, that would, I'm not sure it's a criteria, but it certainly should be.
Okay.
It's just cleaner.
Yeah, I have a question on, you have written in here that that he would be required to transfer a claim?
I do.
No, not in this case.
No,
This was already a small lot, so it
If
was.
I wrote something wrong, I apologize.
Well, on page 8 of our packet, it's written to develop this property under existing zoning would require the transfer of claim from a willing participant to this property.
No, it doesn't need a claim, and I apologize.
Yeah, it should not.
Technically, it does, and I apologize. And
Because it's already an existing lot that size. So it's not part of an ag operation.
Yeah, it was determined and sold as that back by.
But that was before any of
Yeah.
this, so it's grandfathered.
Right.
No, I think it's okay, because you said this property
don't
is not
see
part
where
of a
the
base
page
farm, has no entitlement to a claim. Under existing zoning would require transfer. But we're changing the zoning, right?
yeah, we're changing the future land use. Yeah, is what we're changing. Gosh, I wonder.
Here, is the
Page 8 of
proposed
11
future.
I've got.
No, to develop, that's what George is
course.
referring to.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. Yeah. To develop this property under the existing zoning would require a transfer of claim. So under the existing zoning, and the existing zoning is just agriculture. And so, but what we'll do, what you guys have supported is to change the future land use, and that will allow him to change the zoning. So.
And it'll
it
be a
wasn't
rural
totally
residential lot.
clear. It'll be rural. We'll rezone him to rural residential.
Which fits better.
And then it doesn't need a claim at this point.
Yep. Any other questions?
a claim being a building? What is it?
Or split, yeah.
Okay.
I guess we use it interchangeably, but yeah.
Yeah, claims, splits, building rights, all the same thing.
All the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Department report. Deanna, please.
We are moving along with the neighborhood plans, just so that you all are aware. And we're hopefully going to do a Greenfield Steering Committee meeting in early December, and then maybe another South Stoner Prairie Steering Committee in early December. We're on track with doing open house maybe in January again. We're hoping that we can wrap up everything on neighborhood plans in the first quarter. So just want to let you know about that. The exclusive ag zoning changes, staff's still working through that. We ran into a little bit of a snag because some of the parcels in AX in our zoning isn't matching exactly the farmland preservation map that the county has. I don't know how that happened, but it did. So we're going to have to do some rezones on some parcels in early next year. And what we'll do, it won't have any major zoning changes for these parcels, except that we'll have to take them from AX to AT.
We don't have an AT.
Egg transitional?
I didn't think that was still in the code.
I think it is. We have a lot of parcels still AT.
Well, yeah, but as far as going forward, there are existing ones that are out there, but as far as going forward, I thought it was only AX, Ag Small. That was your two choices. But maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that changed.
So your understanding you couldn't rezone to AT?
AT, yeah, that was my understanding. I thought
I'll have to check into that.
I don't think that's a viable.
I remember work about that.
Yeah, you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah, it does not qualify for.
So then that doesn't help.
It doesn't qualify for the tax credits. Yeah. Yeah.
But wasn't your point of rezoning to get them into the tax credits?
No.
Oh, okay.
To take
Just
them
get them into the
Comply with the
comply
with the comp plan paperwork that the state has versus us.
Right, exactly. So anyways, that's kind of a mess. Tracy's still working on the well ordinance yet. She's ran into she's working through a couple of issues with the city attorney. So it's still in the works.
Okay.
That's all I have.
We made a motion to send it back as that we wanted no restrictions. That left this committee with that recommendation. Okay. Does she give us any idea? I mean, it's been a long time.
I know.
She give us any idea when that might?
No, she didn't at this point.
Well, we've been lucky that no one has.
I will say it'll happen right away if somebody has.
Somebody has an issue.
Well, that's the problem. Because if somebody's well goes bad, there isn't time to change it. So then they're out of luck.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they would be. You can't change it.
Well, let's send a note that it needs to happen.
Yeah.
I will let her know.
Because I mean that could be a huge deal, and that would be a huge embarrassment.
Let's not let that be a huge deal for anyone.
So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Deanna.
Deanna, with Greenfield, there's still two existing concepts.
No,
We're down to one, right?
We're down to one.
It went with concept 2, right? Or
a version of concept 2, I think. I think I can pull it up for you all. I think steering committee is pretty comfortable with 1 right now. So land use concepts.
the Greenfield detailed land use concepts under project materials still shows 2 concepts.
2, yeah. Let's see, but I think we've kind of refined those down. And I should have probably had that ready to go, but let me just look. I think we're right. We're very close with this one.
And we're still eliminating the interchange.
Yeah, the interchange is not going to be officially on the map because we don't know exactly what's going to work or what isn't. There needs to be further study in order to figure out if an interchange can work.
Right, and that plan as it shows, it closes the Irish Lane crossing and moves it up to that, whatever name that other road
Yep,
is.
it does. It does close off Irish Lane on this section and then pulls the collector up.
Yep. Now, if you put your cursor down Irish Lane at the end, where at Sain, there's 4 lots, so that road will have to maintain at least to cover access to those. It doesn't show it now, but that you can't take their driveway away.
Right. No, we can't.
Well, then how do you cross the railroad?
You won't be able to. You'll have
You
to come
don't
back
cross
out
the
to Sain
railroads
and then move
there.
it up and go around.
Oh, so Irish will extend east from Sain to service those 4 lots, but the railroad crossing will go away?
Yep.
Yes,
The railroad crossing would get moved.
it would.
So what is the code? Like, what's the yellow and the green?
The yellow is low-density residential. The orange color is medium-density residential. So this is commercial and mixed medium-density residential. This is, the purple is business park, and then this would be high-density or business park, and then this would be medium high density or business park in here.
I thought that salmon that was on my farm with the road running through it was medium density residential, and all of the orange was high density residential.
I could have that turned around.
I believe you do.
If this would be high is, I know high is the dark color, the dark brown. This could be medium high, and then this could be medium residential. I could have that turned around.
And the mine, that's the striped red.
That's yours, Mark?
That is business and then residential, either or.
All right. I understand the steering committee may have wrapped their heads around one of these plans. What have you heard from the neighborhood?
The neighborhood doesn't want anything.
Okay.
I think that's a fair way to put it. Mm-hmm.
That is what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
It will be interesting.
It will be. I think we'll be trying to get in front of council here sooner than later to get some feedback too, to see where they
But
are.
if no one sells this land that's like highlighted, then what happens with this plan?
Well, you heard Frostwood mention that they're wanting to sell it right away as soon as the neighborhood plan goes through.
That is what she stated tonight.
Yeah. they're
I
looking
will
to
just
sell.
say that certainly they could, but in order to develop anything,
You need a
the
lot more than
utilities
that.
have to all come down.
Well,
And they're not going to pay to have utilities run this and here to serve this, right? All of this is going to have to develop first.
well, I don't know. I mean, as far as water and sewer, I can't speak, but you know, like I mentioned to her on the extension to their own home, they pay for all of that, but everybody that connects to that, they get a credit. And so developers oftentimes see the entire extension be free of cost to them because of all of the meter connections to that gas main, electric, water. I believe water works the same way.
Part of that area is serviced by water. Not all of it, but part of it is.
Yeah, everything.
Sewer is not.
Yeah, there isn't any sewer. Water is not down Irish now.
Correct. But it comes down Sain.
Yeah, it does. But this is served by water.
Yeah.
But, just to bring the sanitary down, That would be very, very expensive to bring that sanitary down to serve Frostwood.
It would, and to extend that sanitary, you have some environmental areas that are going to be a big challenge.
This is a big challenge.
You've got some major springs that feed.
I think it's such a big challenge, we ought to turn around and look the other direction.
There you go.
It's not going to happen.
But that, to extend that sewer line down, crosses one of the main spring areas that feeds Lake Wabisa, Swan Creek.
Oh, yes. Swan Creek.
Isn't
It's one of the feeders that feeds Swan Creek. So,
what about the development that's in there right now on the north side of Irish, just to the northwest of the two orange parcels there? Or the
this is Highfield Reserve.
Yeah. They wouldn't extend water and sewer through that?
No, they're not going to be able to. They kind of did a special deal to make that happen. So, no, they're not. The sewer and water is not going to come out of Irish, out of that subdivision.
yeah, it would have to be pumped.
It would be.
Yeah, it would have to be.
And it's not. Their system is not designed to take what's here.
Yeah,
what's
the overflow.
proposed.
So
It's not designed
in
for
order
that.
to develop that, they're going to have to bring the main out.
They're going to have to bring a main down.
Yeah.
And it's just not, in my understanding, not financially feasible until you have development in this area.
A lot of development.
Deanna, what's this could go long. I'm sorry if maybe this is, I'll ask the question, and if it's see me later, that's perfectly okay. But what's the scoop with the rail corridor and Syene? They very much overlap into one another. You know, the rail corridor at that real tight junction.
At Lacey? It gets pretty tight at Lacey.
Move your cursor, yeah, right about there. A little bit more north. The rail corridor extends into the road right away. The rail is going to be entitled to a 50-foot from center line of tracks, and the road goes well into that. But Fitchburg's the owner of the rail now. Yes, Fitchburg and Oregon jointly are deeded
No,
that.
that was
For a
sold and
time,
changed.
there
They did
was.
own it.
They did for a
But that is
time.
not the way it is now.
The existing deed shows Fitchburg and Oregon jointly owning it, with the Wisconsin River Rail Transit Commission being the operator.
You would know more about
Yeah,
that.
I don't know a whole.
I didn't think it went that way.
I didn't think we had any rights to this any longer.
Well, wasn't it at one time that it went down to, was it down as far as Evansville?
That went Chicago.
This line goes
Yeah.
down
It
to
used-
Evansville.
but it's out at
Shared
Brooklyn.
ownership at one time.
Yeah.
Fitchburg and the rail company. And one time grandfathered in with, it used to be 2 rails in there.
Yes, part of it is a double track.
Yeah, that's why.
So you're going to have
the
a wider
distance-
right of way, and the railroad has the longest, oldest, strongest right of way, and the city is second.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Railroad came in there in about 1860, and if you look at the railroad laws, they supersede anything the city's got. They're a much stronger lobby.
So the railroad came after the city, and the city had infrastructure, both Syene and Byrne and Irish, all constructed, and the rail
No,
came after. That I'm sure of.
the rail came first.
It didn't. There's maps that show that.
I don't.
Well,
I don't.
1860 is about when that went in.
1871.
71, okay. There were no dedicated roads.
There were. Byrne,
time.
Irish, and Syene were all dedicated. They all existed at the time of that. I'll show you the maps, and I'll show you the deeds to them. I had to look into it for my own property, but also from the utility side of things, crossing those roads, whether the rail was the party that would issue a permit for a road crossing, or if the city were the entity that does that. And like I said, 1871, that corridor was purchased, and the first train to go through there was 1874. There's some nice stuff actually in Fitchburg's Historical Society. I don't know where that is. I found it online, but
I don't believe we issue any permits for crossing that rail line.
right.
I have never seen anything like that.
No.
In our files, I can tell you that. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
I've got one last question. Where are you in the planning department and the mayor on the comprehensive plan expansion?
Good question. Yes. Staff is working on the RFP for doing the comprehensive plan update. We're going to try to, I think next time we meet, I think it would be good if you all, this is a good thing, I didn't even think about bringing this up, but to kind of think, as we're putting that RFP together, it's going to be helpful for staff to have you all, our committees, commissions, council, to just offer some priorities, questions, what are things that are really important that we need to look at, right? For me, one of the things that we need to spend some time is looking at the long-term values and where we think our agricultural lands need to be in 10 years, and really taking a look at that. So this would be a good time to get some feedback and thoughts about the types of questions that we might need to be asking, about the areas that we might really need to start digging into a little bit more as we go into this comp plan.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, but we've certainly got a lot of important considerations to put together.
Yes.
To meet what you're saying, and
yes,
we cannot take it lightly because this is huge.
I think so too. I think we're at a generational point.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. This is huge.
Explain your thoughts on that, Deanna.
I see that. I think tonight is a good case. I think that there's increasingly pressures on our agricultural land. There's going to be more people interested in the farmette kind of thing. And I'm seeing more alternative uses happening out in the agricultural areas. So what I mean by that is, what as we as a community do we envision, and then how do we start enacting that, right? Maybe we need to look at more options for rural landowners to have more business or something, or more options, right? Or maybe maybe the community thinks having 20-acre farmettes are okay. I don't know, right? Based on what we're working with right now, it isn't, right?
Well, it's because of the zoning issues.
Yeah. So I see, from my perspective, a lot of development pressures, change pressures in our rural areas. And I think we need to, and I think you all too, really need to bring that all back to a forefront to council, to our larger community, to say, this is a big part of who and what we are as Fitchburg. And
the ag part, yes.
Yes, and we need to work together to understand that value and protect that value.
We kind of lost it a little bit, I feel like. I mean, this committee still has it and recognizes it, but I feel so disconnected from our council and just like everything that's going on in Fitchburg.
Yep, I understand. Okay. So you'll bring that
Next meeting,
meeting.
I'll put a discussion item on.
Okay, great. Good. Okay. All right, any other questions? Anybody have any other questions before we adjourn? Accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.